and I work with the Halton Catholic District School Board as part of their Pathways team. There's about four or five of us. I also take care of secondary technology and the SHSM programs and the OYAP programs. So I typically find that there's a tremendous amount of information that we could share together. I try to touch on a few of the more important items, just to set a context for what your kids, our students, are going through as they proceed through high school. One of our big mandates this year is to reach to the 7s and 8s and start to cause the grade 7s and the grade 8s, the kids and the parents, to be informed so that when they do arrive in high school, they know what's ahead of them and they know what they can plan for. I've rejigged my presentation today, so I think I've worked out all the flaws, but if there's something that I touch on and you would like me to expand, please don't hesitate to stop me. I would prefer that we sort of answer questions almost as we go along, and because sometimes and this happens a lot in education, I think it happens in any field, but we get accustomed to using acronyms, and we get accustomed to thinking that you know, and that is not always true. So if I say something or I reference something that you're not sure of or you've heard somewhere before, then by all means stop me and we'll get that cleared up, okay? And we also have Sarah here.
Hi.
And Sarah is our host, and she's helping me just make you feel comfortable. And hopefully we'll be able to spend a little bit of time on something called my blueprint. And hadn't planned on this, but Sarah has access to it, so she can sort of give us a little bit of a demonstration of how it works and how she's made use of it. So thank you, Sarah. The other thing, Sarah gave me this little folder of which I just needed to do I need to remind them or just remind them? So we have some of our presentations being videotaped today, so hopefully you are comfortable with our presentation being filmed. I think by the mere fact that you're seated here you're okay with that. But if you're not, then let us know. Okay? And don't be shy just because there's a camera on. Okay, my mouse. Sarah, did I forget anything? No? So I did put this. I like to do this in my presentations, to put little reminders. Usually they're for me, but that's why I put them in there, but I always tell my audience they're for you. In actuality, they're for me. So if you see little things in here and I go and I miss it, please stop me so that I can address it. I wanted to start with this. Mark Carney is the governor for the Bank of Canada, and just at the end of August, he was addressing the auto workers, and he made a couple of comments that I've heard repeatedly, and it's this whole business of our changing economy and the whole idea that jobs are available, but the skill set that our children need to bring are starting to have specific skills associated with them. And he was repeating this message to the auto workers. And because it was at the time the loonie was starting to increase, and we were, of course, and still are rebounding from our economic dilemmas. Even this morning driving in, they were talking about the fiscal cliff which the United States is facing. And I thought to myself, who invents these terms? But I mean, all of these things are happening, and they're the environment that your children are growing up in, my children as well. But this quote really stuck out. I put down the first one, but it was the second one that drew my attention, and that's the demand for unskilled workers in advanced economies such as Canada is waning. we need skilled workers in order to grow. So my message sort of today is ultimately all of your children are going to be moving on from elementary school, moving on from high school, and heading somewhere else. Ultimate goal, I think, graduate, either head to the workplace directly, head to an apprenticeship, head to college, or head to university. I think without a doubt, we are all going to require of our own kids to find specific skills that are marketable. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that is, well, the first step to that is graduating successfully with their diploma from high school. And that opens the doors to other things. I tell my own kids, and I've got my youngest is in high school, and she's at that age, she's 11 now, so she's at that age where she doesn't know really what she wants to do. She does know, and I keep telling her, you will need to do something once you've finished high school. You're going to have to get some further specific training, whatever that might be. So make sure you're prepared to take that next step. Another individual is Rick Miner, and he's written a book. He was actually the president at Sheridan College, and he's retired now, but he was very interested in this gap that's taking place between jobs and skills. And his book is called People Without Jobs and Jobs Without People. And again, it's mentioning this gap between the workforce, the jobs that are available, and the skills which are potentially could be absent. And of course, that's going to put all kinds of pressure on our social safety nets, because if you don't have a job, how can we build our social safety nets? Okay, and I don't think that's new. That's fairly common, which I try to emphasize it not to scare people, but to reinforce with parents, with students, that in order to move forward, you have to be successful in your secondary school. Grade 12, that's what we're talking about. So achievement pillars, literacy and numeracy, community, culture, and caring, and pathways. These are mandates from the Ministry of Education. Literacy and numeracy we hear an awful lot about in QAO. Those definitely hit on literacy and numeracy, the grade 9 math test, the literacy test in grade 10. Community, culture, and caring, well, through the lens of a Catholic education, we do a lot of that within our religious education. And pathways, though, is something that is not as tangible, I find, for parents and for students, like literacy and like numeracy. Pathways takes in a whole slew of different ideas. So again, in terms of the general ideas that I'd like you to leave here today with would be things like, pathways. So that might be course selection that we're talking about in high school. That could be where you want to go to school once you leave high school. That could be, are you looking at an apprenticeship? That could be, what are your, how are your social skills? How are your, where do you fit in terms of your career choices? What do you like to do? Guidance department, cooperative education. All of those words should come to mind when we start to talk about pathways. But it's not as tangible as, say, literacy and numeracy. And it looks different for every single student. And it looks different at what stage in life they're in. I mean, sometimes I sit and I go, boy, I wonder what I want to be when I grow up, you know? It still gnaws away at the back of your head. So we're dwelling on pathways. In our particular board, we've been using this logo, our Pathways logo. So when you see that logo, then that's the topic that we're looking to explore. I'll just direct you to our Pathways planner. Thanks, Sarah. So Sarah's given out a couple of items. I didn't want to overwhelm everybody with tons of content, and because a lot of the content that we have repeats. This actually is our Pathways Planner. It's we stripped it down from what it used to be. It used to be a fairly thick booklet, and we tried to make it kid-friendly. So it looks, I hope it looks a little bit youthful for you. We did put a lot of thought, or tried to put a lot of thought into the kinds of messages that we would put here for our students, because this wasn't designed for you, this was designed for our students. So we've tried to make it a little bit funky. We had a young designer put it together, so this is what they came up with, so we okay. But one of the most important things just on this first page is this business about relax. You know, it's okay to not know where you're going. They are bombarded with, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And partly that comes from us as parents, it comes from us as teachers, because we're concerned about the next step. So I always tell my own kids, don't worry about what you want to be. That will come, okay? Because and the reason why I don't want to push them on that, they clam up on me, okay? I don't want them to clam up. Oh, you know, Dad, stop. Leave me alone, I'll get there. So I think it's okay to tell your kids to relax and continue to explore. I'm not saying ignore it, but don't push too hard, because you will push them away on that topic, and you don't want to do that. So that to me is pretty important. On this first page, depending upon where your son or daughter is, I don't even know the mix of the people here. Do we mostly have grade 7 and 8 parents?
Grade 9.
Grade 9? High school parents here
10,
as well?
11, 10.
Okay. So we've got a mixture. Kids in grade 7 and 8, they're at a different stage. You know, they're not even thinking about grade 11. You know, they're thinking about, boy, I hope when I get to that first day of school, I can remember my locker combination. I hope I can remember where I have to go. That's what they're thinking about. But that doesn't mean that they can't be exploring the things that they like. Okay? So we've tried to make this something that kids from grade 7 through to grade 12 can make use of. Okay? This is my conversation starter. When you need to talk about, and it's coming up shortly, your option sheets. This is the little piece that your kids may bring home. Well, you'll know that they'll have access to this. All the guidance departments have these. And when they're having their option sheet presentations, they'll get one of these. But this is that thing that sits on the table, and then you pick up, and it's an entry point for you to start to look together and start to tackle the planning that goes with this. It's not meant to be something that a student would sort of bring back to the school, to their guidance department, and say, here's what I would like to sign up for. This is pretty antiquated, right? We're in the 21st century, apparently, heading for the 22nd, I always say. But this is where you can doodle on this, you can write on it, you can circle things. So that's what this is for. You can pencil and paper some items in here. You can take an eraser, scratch it out. You know, but that's what this is for. It's your segue to have that little chat with your own children. Okay? Oh, that I did. I put it on there, AKA the dinner table conversation starter. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. So that's the first page of it. And again, I don't want to dwell on everything here too much, but I do want you to know how it works, so you're familiar with it, so you can have conversations. This actually is quite convoluted. It's page 2, but once you enter into the secondary schools, you have different routes that you can take to graduate. Goal is graduate, though, right? And depending upon the kinds of courses that you are taking, there will be prerequisites for some courses, and there will be no prerequisites for other courses. And that's why this page 2 looks so busy. Okay? We'll move into my blueprint with Sarah, and my blueprint is an electronic digital version that allows you to sort of move courses around, and experiment. So that may make more sense to you once we see my blueprint. And then the third page, again, I mentioned this sort of briefly. That's where you can sort of jot things in about for planning. You'll notice for these students who are in grade 9 and grade 10, there's not really a whole lot of wiggle room for their courses. It's not really until you hit grade 11. That's where you can start to venture out and be a little more specific in what it is that you're interested in. Which is the reason why we're trying to reach down to the grade 7s and the grade 8s, is because they're not here yet. They're not even thinking about this part yet, grade 11 and 12. We want them to. Because what we're finding when we look at our regional programs is that students are arriving, grade 10 students are arriving in February, doing options sheets and selecting courses for grade 11 and 12, and they see a program that they're interested in, but they haven't prepared for it. They're missing a course, or there's some kind of a prerequisite that they need. So it's valuable for you to be aware of what's available to them in grade 11 and 12, and if they do see something that they are interested in, how do they prepare themselves for that? And we'll talk a little bit more about grade 11 and grade 12. And then on the last page, these are our destinations. I mean, ultimately, it's workplace. And ultimately, every single parent, all they really want for their kids is to be happy, to be successful in terms of being able to do the things that they would like to do. Everybody needs to work, and everybody needs to have a time for relaxing. And everybody needs money in order to do those things. And in order to get money, you need to have a job. And ultimately, that's what I want for my kids. I want them to be happy. I don't want them to be rich. I want them to be happy. And I want them to feel good about themselves. And I want them to have grandchildren. And I want them to bring them home. And I want to be able to put them on my knee and then send them home at the end of the day with mom and dad. But ultimately, that's what you want. So when we talk about destinations and exiting, we're always trying to bring honor to all 4 exits. University, college, apprenticeship, workplace, in no particular order. They are all honorable. As a kid growing up, and this is probably a similar setting for yourselves, you would go into the guidance room and there'd be 4 walls, and there'd be like 3 walls for university, and there would be 1 wall for college, and there'd be nothing else. So we need to honor all of those exits. And the fact now that we need workers with skills is so important. And I hate to well, it's really becoming more evident now. Everybody thinks that if you head off to university, well, that's just going to be money in the bank for you. And that's not the case, not at all. That's part of the puzzle. So I'm trying to emphasize this whole idea of placing honor on every single exit out of high school. And kids need to feel that way, that what they are doing is honorable, okay? So that's what the back is about. So that's your conversation starter. Now, before we go into my blueprint, does anybody have any little questions, comments? Okay. So my blueprint is actually the digital version of page 3 in that planner. And I hadn't counted on this, but Sarah, if you don't mind, Sarah's a student here at Corpus Christi, and when I arrived, I just happened to say, Sarah, have you used my blueprint? She says, yes, I do. I said, that's great, because I don't have a password, nor do I have a timetable, but Sarah has been using it, and she can just sort of take you through how it works. Come on up, Sarah, don't be shy. how it works. And every single student, how do you want to work this, Sarah?
I don't know.
Is it easier for you to sit, perhaps?
I can stand. It's fine.
Okay, mouse is here. Every single, I need to get you to the next screen. Every single student from grade 7 all the way to grade 12 has access to this now, okay? And I find that as a planning tool, it's very, very helpful, particularly on the feedback side. I don't want to steal all of Sarah's thunder here. Now, Sarah, if you get confused, because Sarah hasn't seen what I put in for the presentation or where buttons are.
So I just click here.
So yeah, just before you start though, Sarah. So that's the interface for my blueprint. And I was just going to show it to you. Sarah can actually take you to it. She will log in as her, and she can show you what it looks like.
Can you dim the light for me so we
Sure.
can see the board?
Oh yeah, I was gonna. Just a
Yeah,
moment.
kind of.
Is that
Shows
better?
better, yeah, thank you.
Hopefully I remember my password. That's the only thing. A little iffy.
How do you access it for the first time?
So that's what Sarah's going to
Okay,
sort
yeah,
of.
I'll explain
But
the first time. So, do you want?
write that down just in case.
Okay, basically, your children will first get this idea from my blueprint from their guidance counselors. We were actually all, I'm pretty sure it's grade 8 or grade 9. You have, like for our school, and I'm not sure how other secondary schools do this, but for my school at least, we all have to apply our courses and say which courses we want to do next year, and that's the system that they work through now. So it used to be paper and pen, like circle things. They still do that, but they also like to do this online version too. So that way they have 2 different versions of being able to really have the written down copy, but also the internet based too. I'm pretty sure there's one time the guidance counselor just comes in, they book normally computer labs, and then your class just goes. And you access this website, you create one that really, a password you can remember, something like that, and it goes through the whole thing. You just basically click how, like, getting started. You guys, parents don't really have to worry about so much about getting their children into this because their guidance counselors should be the ones that do it. But it's just good that you guys know what's going on, because I feel that not many people really know about it. It's so new, so it's probably a good thing that you guys know about this.
Sorry, I'll just interject from time to time. So we've only been using this as a system this is the 2nd year.
Yeah, last year started.
Last year it started, and so this is only the 2nd year that we've been using it. So believe it or not, there's not a lot of familiarity with it amongst our parent community. So, sorry.
Sorry, when did they introduce this to the kids?
Well, we are starting to introduce it to them in grade 7 and 8 now, because there are some components of it that are around skill, what do you call it, almost like a
It's
skill.
a quiz just to see where you want to be at.
A self-assessment type.
That's
What do
right.
you like, what do you interested
That
in?
kind of thing.
Oh.
And then of course it helps to build, has the grade 7s and 8s familiar. The other thing that happens is on the back end of my blueprint, it will access data that comes from Trillium. And Trillium is where we store all of the data around what courses are being offered in different high schools, because there's all of the ordinary programs that are offered, your maths, your English, but then there might be some specialty programs also offered. So for example, I think they have a dance down at, as one of the arts programs down at Assumption, but they don't have that here. So this will tap into the whole suite of available courses at Corpus Christi or at Assumption or at Christ the King.
Another good thing about it too is once you have all your courses for high school, I know like right now they don't show that many availabilities for me now for universities, but once I take my all my courses, my ones that I need to do, like my prerequisites, it shows all the different like workplace, apprenticeship, like anything that I could do based on my courses. So based on what I've taken, different courses that I could take in university, it shows all of that. So that's another great tool for the website. So, did you have a question?
Oh, no, just my kids are a little bit, I wish they had introduced this a few years ago. My kids are in grade 10 and 11.
See, that's,
And
yeah.
it was really, it's frustrating now because they're looking at, what's really great about this, we did it last week, is they have to do surveys. They ask you all kinds of questions, what you like to do,
Yeah.
not about jobs, just about your personality and what interests you are. And it's really great, there's hundreds of questions.
Yeah.
And they go to different stages. I wish we had done this in grade 8.
That's the thing, like I that's why I did it that year with my guidance counselor, because it was so new and introduced.
And they were not doing this when my kids were
So-
in grade 8 at St. John of Arc, and now they have it. And last year, we input all of the courses for the next year here. And what's great is they give us a printout of what courses you've already taken in grade 9, 10, 11, and what you're still missing
Yeah.
in order to get your graduation. Everything's automated, and it's really nice.
Yeah, so to continue on that thread, my daughter's in grade 8, and it's funny, because I was telling her that I'm coming to this, course for opportunities, and she says, well, I already know that, Mom. So
Yeah,
I
see,
can
that's,
go-
I feel, yeah,
and
that,
she's feeling very confident, and
That's-
so I can go home and tell her, wow, I've learned about this blueprint and pathways, and I can
yeah.
give her some
And-
good-
And your neighbors and people,
Yeah.
because it's all about messaging and getting the
Yes.
message out. Sorry, Sarah, you go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not sure, some of your children might have this or might not, or maybe they haven't really told you yet and they do have it and they're just haven't told you. So basically this is how it starts. I'm not sure how they really sign in. That was a while ago we did that. So they probably click on getting started and there's a code, I think, for your school.
There is, I'll put it up.
Okay. Sorry, my email's a little weird. Made it in grade 6. The 87, my friends were like, if you have anything to do with Hillary Duff, I'm not adding you on MSN. So I snuck in the 87 because that's her favorite number. So, I think this should. Yay. Okay, perfect. So this is what it looks like. It shows your grade above here and like my name and everything. And yeah, it also has a print factor so you can print it anytime. In the summer, I actually just took this 7 and 8 discovery survey, which you guys were talking about. It's actually fun to do, so I don't know. I can show you my results and like how that kind of gets set up. So it shows me, I'm huge in the arts, that's why I'm used to doing presentations. I'm big into drama and I really like English. So it shows that I should take drama in grade 12, which I am. So it just kind of shows you things that your children can really, based on their interests, maybe something they didn't even know they liked. It's just based on their interests and that could maybe even help them. So this is showing everything that I should take and stuff like that. So it's just based on that. I don't know if I can.
So that would be something that a grade 7 or a grade 8 could start to do. And they can retake it.
Yeah.
And they'll, because everybody changes, right? And your interests change. I always wanted to be a truck driver. Well, my interests changed, right?
So
Now, before that was garbage man. I just loved the idea of hanging on the back of that truck.
it also shows your 3 top course areas. So English, creative arts, and social science. So it's just particular to the student.
Sorry, Sarah, can you just step on this side so I'm sending you that class?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
Thank you, no problem.
So yeah, that's kind of basically what that looks like. I don't know if I could show you guys the quiz. I haven't taken one of them, so maybe, resume.
That's a good question. The question was, can anybody sign in?
Yes.
I need to check.
I do it
As
at
long
home,
as
yep.
as long as you have an email account,
Yeah, this
And then-
website's open
So
for
I can
everyone.
start this with my daughter even though.
or you can start
she's
it
grade
just
7.
by yourself.
As long as you have a password or
What you wanna do.
something.
Yeah, which I have a list here you can jot down.
That's great. I did it for myself.
Hey, I already did
I-
that too.
Yeah, I was on track, whatever it's saying.
You just generate your own password?
Well, as far as I know, I have to check.
Yeah,
Halton- it's Halton
It's-
something.
It's my, like, you get a code, I think, for the school, so then they know, like, what your
And I have a list
yeah.
of the codes that I can provide for. Okay? So I don't think you have to have a specific email account, you just have to have an email account.
Like, yeah, that's my email, like my personal email, so they would just connect that to theirs and they get their own password, so it's not like a weird, like, D7 to some weird number they have to remember. So, this is basically what the quizzes look like, so they're just simple yes and no's. it just shows at the end how many you've done and your progression, which is good too. And you can leave them and come back anytime, which is another good factor too. I did a lot of these in the summer when I was bored, and I didn't really, it's just, I don't know, it's fun. They make it really appealing, so it's not anything that comes off as, oh, I don't want to do that or something like that. Like, make it simple and easy. So learning new mathematical concepts, that's the one I was on. I'm not really big into that, so I would say no. And then I would just go to the next one. And then you just continue on, yes or no. And then it would just show your results. So it says at the top, step 1 of 5. So this is part A, and then you would go to another part. And then, I haven't done this in a while, sorry.
That's okay. That's the nature of the program, and I think it's good that it's done that way, because if you do lose interest, or your son or daughter loses interest, it's saved, right?
Yeah.
They can pick it up later, which is the idea behind that. Yes?
How is this formulated? Like, is it based on other schools?
My blueprint?
Yeah.
My blueprint is a third party. It's fairly new. Believe it or not, it grew out of a project at Western. And just a couple of students in computer programming, and they took it on as a project. And then they discovered they actually had something that was useful. And it just has been morphing since then. Sarah will show this to you later. I'm just trying to keep track of time, because I'd like to get through everything, but this is important. I think this is an important tool. It's the segue to so many of the other topics that we're sort of looking at today. But the way that my blueprint is built is when Sarah starts to build her course selections for high school, it begins to populate in real time what her course selection, what opportunities exist after she graduates. And it will query every database right across the country at all levels, university, college, apprenticeship, or workplace, and what opportunities exist there. The thing that I like about it is if I change my math, say I have a biology class and I take that out and I put it in an environmental science or something like that, well, that ripples through immediately and updates the list of things that a program you might be interested in. And the reason why I like it is because sometimes I find students sell themselves short because they're looking for the path of least resistance. So instead of taking this course, they'll opt for something else. Okay, but what's the long-term impact of that? And do you then shut yourself out of something that you might like? And then so instead you're going, oh, I kind of like the idea of doing that, and you put it back in. Whereas there's other programs that I've seen that they sort of say, well, here's what you've done, so here's what you're eligible for, and that's it. Whereas the other way around, it's sort of, if you do this, here you go, here's what you can do.
Makes it that much more tangible.
Makes it that much more tangible. And some of the data that they'll harvest will be everything down to how much is a bus pass at that particular institution if you decide to go there. It'll give you costs, tuitions, different it's
amazing. You can click the career, and it'll give you all the possible places in Canada you can go.
Yeah.
And if you limit it to just Ontario, it'll just give you Ontario list. If you want to go to BC because you have family there, it'll click all the BC.
Yes.
And the cost and tuition and boarding. That's really amazing.
It's very robust, I think, is the term. So, here we are. So Sarah's.
So this is somewhere for, I guess from now on, this is how they're going, at least here. I had to come to do this when you were saying with the option sheet. It also says that you have to do this online as well. It says that, like, the great thing about it, as you were explaining before, Greg, is that they have an indication of what the course is about. So I know I was kind of confused, like, should I take this course, should I take another one? Well, there's actually a part when you're adding the courses, it will like explain exactly what the course is going to be talking about, what it's about, if you enjoy it, and it helps a lot too when you're trying to plan it out, so that's a good factor too. It also says here at the side, everything, your graduation indicator, so how much you have left to graduate. I'm in grade 12, so clearly I would have more than maybe someone who's in grade 9, but Then at the side here, you also see the pathways that are eligible. So all the apprenticeship programs, college programs, university programs. So it's a great tool. I find this you should really encourage it for your children because I feel that it's really helpful. I know I enjoy it, so it's nice to come on to, like even just in the summer, just be able to complete one of those survey questions to help you figure something out. That's great then too. So
Sarah, what we're looking at here is basically this chart on page 3. Right? That's what you're looking at, right? But then as you start to populate this, so grade 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, Sarah, can you just experiment for one moment here? Just take a course and add an additional course. Maybe something that you might need a prerequisite for. But anyway, let's just see what happens.
So this is what I was explaining. When you click on it, it will say at the side exactly what the course is about. So let's say you want to do guitar. Well, I don't have the prerequisite for that course, so I wouldn't be able to take it, but it explains on the side exactly what the course is about, what you'd be dealing with. So if you and your children are looking it over and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, well, at least you had information now before they had to go to the actual class, like awkwardly drop it out, and I know they don't like doing that because I really don't either. So visual arts too. Oh, these are all, I think they're all grade 12, that's why it says, grade 11.
You know what, this is okay, because what's happening now for Sarah is she's trying to add a course. What I wanted you to witness happening here was that her options of what she's eligible for, college, university, apprenticeship, workplace, would instantly change, right? Which is handy. But the other thing that's handy here is Sarah's attempting to put in a course that she's missing a prerequisite for. So in terms of the planning aspects, she's able to go, oh, what do I need to go back to do that? Now, Sarah's obviously started to plan out where she wants to head, so she's made those decisions already. Is there anything there we can pick, Sarah, or no? If there is, we'll just forget it for now. Because you may have.
I don't know. The thing about this is it's really official. So once you and your child have gone over things, as soon as you add the course, you can't delete it. So